Bonjour, bom
We're
dia.
live.
Yes, bonjour, bom dia, buenos dias, tunaidan, masa al-hahiri, guten tag, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Felipe Taborda. I am the Regional Sales Director for Latin America at Taurus. And today I have the honor to be joined by two of the top names in the digital assets industry here in Switzerland. Vasily Lavrov, Head of Products here at Taurus, and Carlos Doncel, Product Manager, Digital Assets at Swissquote, to discuss how to build a profitable digital business, uh, taking in consideration the perspective of the journey that Swissquote has taken over the past years. Because the webinar has a lot of registrants and to make the best from everyone's agenda, we will be taking questions in the chat to answer in the end of the session. If we don't have enough time to answer all the questions in the end, we will make sure to individually respond to each of your questions by email after that. So without any further delay, it's my pleasure to pass the mic to Vasily. Welcome, Vasily.
Thank you, Felipe. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to showcase this event live together with one of our clients, Swissquote, today. So my name is Vasily Lavrov. I'm the head of product at Taurus for our infrastructure business, which englobes producing and selling software for banks who would like to venture in the business of digital assets, custody, and tokenization. And today with us, we have one of our clients represented by Carlos from Swissquote. Carlos, I invite you to give you a few words about yourself, first of all.
Yes, thank you, Vasily. Thank you, Felipe. Can you hear me right?
Yes.
I was double testing the webcam and the mic, so.
Very good, yes.
So yes, indeed, I joined Swissquote around 2.5 years ago. I entered crypto way before this. It was late 2002 and early 2011. It was more precisely Christmas of 2010. So I've been in the space for quite some time. Although professionally speaking, I only got involved in around 2017 with tokenization related projects and so on. For the end, in the past, I just had a traditional, let's say, more financial background, going from asset management to investment boutiques and also private equity, which was one of the last jobs I got before joining Swissquote. Mainly focused on tech audiovisuals, but also a long stint on VC side too.
Great, thanks. And I think for some of the audience here today, who is actually Swissquote? Can you say a bit about who Swissquote is?
Mm-hmm. So Swissquote is, as we see in the logo, right, the Swiss leader in online banking in the territory of Switzerland. So we are essentially we are switching from a traditional, let's say, transactional bank approach to a one bank everything approach, an all-in-one bank. So we are mainly focused into fronts, so both retail and institutionals. And institutionals were traditionally focused on external asset managers, although we also have a very long-lasting relationship with a lot of brokerage and financial institutions. And on the retail side, we're mainly focused on what we call the mass affluent that are self-guided. This means that clients on average that hold a significant size of assets but like to self-manage them rather than delegate this management of assets. So our strongest point is everything built around our trading platform. That's our main business and has been historically. Although we are now launching some banking oriented products like a debit card that supports crypto, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And in respect to maybe a bit deeper before going to what actually Swissquote offers in terms of digital assets, what's the bank's belief with respect to this line of business?
So in terms of bank belief, so we were the first ones entering the space together with you guys in terms of tech provider with a financial provider. We were the first bank to offer crypto to a mass retail audience. So that's a first. That says a lot. We started in 2017, to be more precise. So the vision of the bank around this asset class is that it will become another asset class. For me personally, I like to use the term of the most liquid alternative assets that there is as of today. And here you can include everything related to cryptocurrencies, although I think there's a long way regarding digital assets as a whole. So including cryptocurrencies, but also other forms of DLT-based issued tokens like security tokens and similar products. The vision of the bank around it is it's still a very important product for us. It represents, generally speaking, with some exceptions like 2021, in which it represented literally a third of the revenue of the bank. But the idea is to keep a presence in Switzerland to lead as the first financial institution / bank in terms of retail's accessing crypto, and we want to expand more internationally. Cannot share too much. We're really traded, so it's a bit limited sometimes.
No, of course. But when you say a third of the revenues, how much did that, in terms of nominal amount, represent for you?
So by memory, I think 2021 we got around 350 to 400 million revenue. Maybe it's on our financial reports, but I would say it's tripled. It's 9 digits. Yeah, 100 million maybe.
100 million just worth with the crypto business.
Yeah, because I think it was around 300 something million in 21. So around a third of this, or around 100 million, was coming from cryptocurrency, which is an absolute surprise for the bank at the beginning, although they invested so early. But thanks to this, we also decided to enter different, to increase our investments towards cryptocurrencies, building our own crypto exchange like SQX and many other cross products. But yeah, it was, and now it stays more or less above 10% of total revenue. Because again, crypto is very cyclical. We all know this. It's a business of highs and lows. But in general, let's say our target is to never go below, let's say, 8 to 10% of the revenue. Yeah. Our revenue grows at double digits. So that also says something.
And maybe breaking down those 100-odd million in revenues which were made in 2021 out of, let's say, the digital assets or the crypto segment, what do you offer? What does that cover in terms of offering today?
Okay, so do you mean what evolved from 21 to today in terms of offering? Or,
yeah, in terms of basically what I'm getting to.
Revenue, let's say.
Yeah. What's the streams of revenue within those 100 million? Is it mostly? I know it's mostly trading, but there's all the revenue lines like custody and maybe staking. Maybe to give a bit of insight to the audience around that.
So in 21, exactly, it was 100% based on the trading volumes. Why was this? Is because cryptos, let's say, as a sort of promotion, were excluded of the mass when calculating, the custody fees of the bank account. At Swissquote, we use, let's say, a tier system for custody. So depending on how much non-cash assets, so securities and cryptos, you are in a different tier, and you pay between 20 and 35 Swiss francs per quarter. So in 21, there was no cryptos included into this mix. Today is a bit different because we have also the staking revenue coming, and cryptos have been included in the custody mix. And I would say 90+% is because of our business model. Again, it's very precise, but 92% will be purely trading. Okay, and the rest is shared between custody and staking at more or less equal values.
So I guess the next question is, trading, a lot of traders or banks who offer trading capabilities, they need a custody solution. They either, they look, we strive, and most of our clients, of course, they do self-custody. And we see this as a broad dynamic in the market. What would you say some of the challenges when looking at custody solutions or custody complexity, and why is it such a fundamental piece that supports your trading business in terms of revenue?
So for me, there are different pillars of running the custody. So the first one is the custody itself. So not including, let's say, the integration cost into the existing framework. So that part is, we grew together with you guys. So it was quite intuitive. We found problems for you. You found problems before us. You give us features before we need them. You give us features when we need them. So it was more or less a ping-pong game, let's say, purely based on running costs and new features. So that's one key pillar, which is the solution itself. The second key pillar, which is very important, and I think a lot of players that are entering now or were entering around a year ago the space, is the integration costs, let's say. For us, for example, we were so early that most of our softwares that we already used, like the core banking system, were not ready to support these typologies of asset. Because what was the cryptocurrency? Based on what we agreed with FINMA and the overall definition, it was okay, it was an off-balance sheet asset. Okay, but what type of asset is a crypto? From a core banking perspective, I mean, not legally speaking. Okay, it needs to be off balance because it has a lot of combinations. It can be subdivided in different pieces, so fractional trading was not here too. So, okay, maybe we need to put them as currencies of balance sheet. So you need to develop these functionalities on top of your solutions if those solutions don't incorporate them. Because yeah, it's not the same as holding, currencies that are denominated in cents than holding assets that have 9 to 11 or even 13 digits after the comma. So that was a very key feature that a lot of people didn't expect here at the company. But when we were decided, from a board and chief executive management point of view, it was quite a challenge to win, especially for the IT teams. Then there's still limitations that are running. So, okay, we surpassed the commas, so the digits after the comma, nice. Now we have another problem, which is, okay, how we do crypto versus crypto. So from a custody perspective, but also from a trading perspective, there was a few challenges. I think those were first-timer challenges. So most of the core banking system and this kind of critical software run by financial corporations like us have now developed modules on top of that. You guys offer some level of connectivity already with these core banking systems through connectors and co. So yeah, those developments were key, but we paid a little bit the price of being the first ones. And lastly, the third is the regulation-wise. It's very important because of regulation to run the solutions yourself. Why? Because there's legal restrictions. You need to put things off balance sheet, but you need to have a certain level of control. You need to manage the risk and also both liquidity risk and counterparty risk. There are many, many, many challenges, and you need also to adapt to regulations that come with those challenges. So that would be the three main pillars for me.
Yeah. So in sort of as a summary, or where I want to go to next, is a lot of the clients and what we promote ourselves, and we're very proud of doing that, is we build software which is banking grade. And I think that's one of the unique selling points that we have, is that we build software with the banks in mind at the end. What are some of the things you mentioned, sort of reporting capabilities, regulation, sort of the decimal place, maybe some other features which you really appreciated or you looked into when you were investigating in the market, which Taurus offered from a banking grade perspective?
No, for let's say the initial stance, I think the fact of you being backed, but also working already, being the first financial institution to work with you guys together with others, and then having the back of other financial institutions, I think that was a key, because you better understood the needs of a typology of client this complex. A lot of fintechs don't understand this. So they build maybe very fancy products, and I'm talking about custody, but also, I don't know, any kind of fintech payment-oriented startup, for example. And they forget about the complexities of the banks, Oh, I think I lost connection. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. The screen went black and it says connection lost, and then it came back. Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, as I was saying, it's very important to understand this typology of clients, and financial institutional clients. We're kind of special. We have a lot of compliance stuff to follow, reporting. We have auditors. We have regulators that are on top of us. We have FINMA in Switzerland. We have CSSF on Luxembourg. Then you have the auditors in both places. You need to have a level of bookkeeping that it's very large. So meeting those requirements and especially understanding them, because your team was also very prone towards having financial backgrounds, was extremely helpful at the beginning. And then, essentially, as I said, we grew together. We discovered some limitations. You guys anticipated them, and then vice versa. For us, honestly, from a client perspective, being the first ones, retail clients and institutionals alike were quite convinced just by the fact of being a bank operating under those banking standards. Now we need to, come closer and closer to traditional crypto exchanges and crypto players because the line is getting blurred. So now it's all about new features and gathering, retail demands.
Yeah, I definitely recall a lot of questions around integration, a lot of questions around integration with the core banking system or with existing systems which were perhaps built in-house by Swissquote, because you have a lot of engineering power or engineering resources. But it was also, I think we looked a lot at how we can facilitate the connection to the existing crypto ecosystem, including exchanges or AML providers, automating some, looking at specific processes, what happens when a client deposit funds, what sort of controls we want to automate there, and sort of what can we facilitate and automate from a liquidity management perspective. And at the end of the day, I know this is a never-ending topic, but it's about scalability because, today, how many clients does Swissquote serve?
Today I think we already surpassed, I can only say the ones from the last public publications. I think it's 550,000.
Yeah. And out of those, do you know roughly, or can you give an idea of what percentage of clients is investing in crypto products?
So in a sustained manner is around, you can say on average and sustained around 10%, more or less.
10%.
Which is very in line if you see it with our target revenue share. So, yeah. But of course it can go up to, it can double or even close to triple in key moments, key months. It can go really, really high.
No, what I think is interesting is
distinct features.
Yeah, sure. I think what is interesting at the end of the day is 10% of your client segment generated a third of your revenues in 2021. I think for me, that's the key takeaway here. That, some people view it as maybe an alternatives business, but it's a very profitable alternative investment business. And there's a lot at hand and there's a big market potential there. And we're still, for many people, early stage. I want to talk a bit about, security. We've gone together through many audit reviews, pen test, code reviews. Security is paramount in this business, as you know. Why? Because transactions being irreversible, once they're final, once they're settled on chain. So maybe walk us through what was the approach with regards to security when selecting a custody platform like ours?
So for that matter, I don't have very specific information around the specificities around operating the solution or operators when deciding about it. What I know is that the necessary framework was either there or built together. So we eliminate, let's say, non-technological risks, for example, because technological risks to some extent, running HSMs, having this ISO compliant and related stuff, it's like the minimum expected, let's say. What is on top, what is the real added value is to have the capacity, of that first, that operators can run the solution independently, and not constantly require an external assistance. Although we have a dedicated team for this, which is IT security, and is handling this typology of material, let's say, and it's key. But for us, the fact of having a lot of institutional oriented software is not user friendly, generally speaking, or has a very steep learning curve. In that sense, I think your solution is very streamlined and covers, let's say, not only the basic needs, but also this user experience approach. configurability also, the fact of, having different teams operating under the same solution, but in different layers. So IT security, for example, just putting, hard-coded limits into certain parts of the product, while operators can run independently in parallel, with around these limits, having a tough alerts, global monitoring, not having to develop everything from scratch, but having already monitoring tools, everything related again to reporting that allows us to have a clear view of what is happening, in case of not a breach on the solution itself, but on our systems, that we are able to promptly, stop it. All of these combined together, brings a lot of security. A lot of people in security-based products, they don't focus on user-centered experience. Yeah, that's important too. Also to avoid mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the great things about Swissquote as a platform is how easy and user-friendly it is to just purchase or invest in any asset class, including cryptocurrencies, which to some people this day still may come across as mysterious or scary. And with Swissquote, you have a reputable, regulated bank in Switzerland offering this possibility. Okay.
Yeah, and especially because we wanted to offer the real thing,
Yeah.
and not any kind of derivative or anything. We wanted really to offer this spot product, and a solution like ours is essential to be able to do so.
Do you see it as a differentiator in the market? Sometimes people they come and they say, well, actually we'll just buy the ISIN, or we won't do self-custody. What are some of your maybe key clients, without revealing names, of course? Why do they stress so much importance on you being self-custodian, having that ownership, having that capability in-house, using HSMs and so on?
So then I would separate retails from institutionals here. So for retails, of course, crypto came first to retail and then to institutional. That's usually not the norm,
Yeah.
Products democratize. They don't, let's say, develop the other way around. So that changes a lot of the optics related to the products. So for example, people with a long time exposure to crypto is very prone, to counterparty risk. Okay. So holding a derivative in any of the forms transforms this risk. Okay, I'm intrinsic risk of the crypto, but now I'm also having the intrinsic risk of the emitter of the asset. Spot together with the right regulation, like the one in Switzerland that is off balance, brings a double security layer, just to not be hassled by the self-custody component that even people like me that came very early on, sometimes it's a bit of a hassle, to keep an eye on everything, to be everything back tested and permanently tested. So everything is, on par. So the peace of mind that it brings to advanced retails, I think that's a good part. For less advanced retails, they're less sensible to all of these things. But in the end, what we saw is that it was a key differentiator product. So once we launched cryptocurrencies, a lot of clients that were holding normal assets started to trade cryptocurrencies, but we also had this new typology of client coming, which is only trading crypto. So we were not their first option as a banking or financial platform. And then thanks to crypto, we managed to expand our relationship with them or even create new ones. So that's on the retail side. On the institutional side is different. It really depends on the typology of institutional that you're talking about, because if you talk about, pension funds, they need products that have essence, just because of their mandates, investment mandates, and many other legal related limitations, but also platform limitations. They are investing billions in the name of thousands of workers. That represents a high liability risk. So they need very safe, I'm not talking about only ECNet, but very safe regulation and strong emitters behind it. And then you have other typology of institutionals like hedge funds that were probably among issuers of these derivatives and underlying based products that just were able to do so. Hedge funds with total liberty, family offices, and this type of institutionals were able to easily access. And then issuers needed a partner, to custody the assets in order to issue ETPs, ETNs, whatever typology of issued product that you think of, or even hedging their derivatives, in the form of CFDs. They needed a player to hold these assets for them, and of course, spot is the king here.
Yeah, definitely. No, and maybe a bit give a bit more context in terms of security. I mean, Taurus, we're well known in the industry to have a strong core focus on security. We also, to all of our clients, give the possibility to share with them all of our source code. This is something that certain banks, which are regulated, and actually all banks, which deem as critical, and it helps to build the trust and the confidence with our products. We speak the same language. I myself used to work in a bank, so when designing the product with the teams, we also think of banking procedures in the background. The product is super easy to deploy, super easy to use, super easy to integrate. We mentioned the integration with the core banking system, integration with AML providers, integration with liquidity providers. So that's, I think, some of the core things that we're definitely very, very proud to serve and have Swissquote being a power user of our platform. We have, I think, 2 minutes, Felipe, if I'm not mistaken. I want to move a bit around the future. Carlos, where are you guys heading maybe in terms of digital asset offering? Of course, I know maybe you can't reveal too much of the internal sort of product strategy and so on, but what is the very general line of thinking? Where are you guys heading? What's the overall thinking from yourself and the management with respect to this line of business?
So, given our regulatory constraints, for us already catching up on what retailers deem as essential product lines is already quite a big challenge. And I'm talking here about, earn-based products, for example, which are impossible to build with today's regulation on banks, but it's something most of retailers are looking for. So playing around, let's say, on how to manage this, working with regulators so they understand the difference, because being a bank is not only being regulated by FINMA, but by banking regulatory frameworks that impose and are very severe for cryptocurrencies. So that's a line of expanding product that we are trying to penetrate. Because it was built unregulated via retails, and now it's regulated via with institutions, complicates a lot the job there. We want to expand our selection, so we started with Bitcoin, Ether back in the day, Ripple, and very few other coins. So we want to keep this growing and also sanitize, and delist potentially if needed some coins. That's also common knowledge. We recently delisted a few, but continue these listings and in this line. And also products that are, very cross-bank. I cannot share too much because,
no, of course,
we're still on the closed trading period. So, but essentially, we try to overpass the limitations that we had, either regulatory-wise. So, small hint, it's towards earn-related products. Also, technical limitations that we have, like crypto to crypto, for example.
Yeah.
So, trying to overpass this to build a very comprehensive and complete product offering.
Yeah, I think for me it's 3 takeaways at the end. It's expanding basically the coverage or reviewing the existing coverage. And so we at Taurus, we continue adding the support of new blockchain protocols or new token standards year on year. It's also keeping a close eye on security. Security is paramount in this business. And when it comes to custody, we invest a lot of time in improving the existing security with code reviews, with pen tests, with audits. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to be ready for the future. This industry is moving fast. It's a fast-paced environment, and we need to, keep up with the momentum that this huge innovation wave is bringing, and try to make sure that the clients through our products are ready and at the forefront to offer the best type of services that they can to their clients at the end of the day. Carlos, thanks a lot. We're going to be answering, I guess, some questions from the audience right now. Felipe, is it okay if I go through the questions?
Yes, please, Vasily. We had few questions in the chat. I think it would be good for us to have Carlos to help us to answer.
Okay. Apologies for some microphone issues. I hope they were solved in the meantime. If they were not, then we're happy to answer any follow-up questions by
Sorry,
email to you.
voice.
Yeah.
I lost quite a bit of voice yesterday night.
No problem. One question from Mr. Salinas is, how big is the digital asset team for Swissquote?
So all combined, if you include specifically dedicated people from teams like legal compliance, which we have dedicated people for, I think we account for roughly 35 to 40 between software, which would be, let's say, software splitted, but mainly on infrastructure side, plus IT and IT security side, plus back office related people, compliance, because you need dedicated people for this in the long term. What we did is also a very nice choice, in my opinion, which is internal development. There was people already interested in crypto in various departments across the bank, and we just helped them, get onboarded and cover this. Compliance to legal. I'm talking about back office specifically, but also trading desk now that we have the exchange.
Yeah. Thank you, Carlos. There was a question from Mr. Biderboost. Can you say a word regarding AML for incoming transfers? Screening on any deposit needs to be done systematically. I think that's part of sort of standard banking regulation. Within the Taurus product, we give you the flexibility to choose whatever AML provider you wish to work with. There are 5 AML providers that we integrate as of today. If you need more information, feel free to contact us. But I would say the most standard answer is any incoming deposit into a bank must be screened. That's sort of the get-going position for any bank. Carlos, would you agree?
Yes, it's like the good thing is that banks have an edge basically into this because it's like receiving any ordinary transfer. There's the same procedures behind. It's just that you add an extra layer, and rather than saying a layer of complexity is a layer of facility, because blockchain-based transactions are very traceable. So it's like a normal transfer. It's like receiving, I don't know, $1 million from X client from X bank, and you do a traditional screening, AML screening, and then you add on top this chain analysis-based analysis, but nothing fancy there.
Okay, good, thanks. Then we have a question from a very familiar name, Mr. Musen. He's asking about your fees. Your fee table mentioned 50 francs fixed custody fee per quarter for balances above 150,000 Swiss francs, and trading fee between 50 and 100 basis points depending on size of the trade. Is this the same for crypto and other assets? That's the first question.
So we had, as I said, crypto was excluded from the assets under custody mass for custody calculations until a year and something ago. This was mainly through a promotional period, let's call it like this. Then we decided and took the bold step of adding cryptos on top of securities and other transactable products, not fiat. They are not included into these 150K, if I'm not wrong. And again, this is for retails. So yeah, crypto is treated as a stock, let's say, on the custody side. Then on the trading side, depending on the asset, there's very different fees. A Swiss stock offered through a Swiss bank like us, but you have many different fees: the exchange fee, the Swissquote fee, and also the stamp duty fee or tax, we can call it. So yeah, in crypto, because we were based under, let's say, a brokerage system rather than an exchange that we are currently working on, we had a very basic approach. Okay, so 100 BPS below a certain amount, 75 intermediary, and 50 above all of this. So it's literally every single asset has different costs. And as another typology of assets, crypto has its own scheduling fee. We can call it schedule fee.
Yeah.
But for custody, is not is the same for most of it except cash.
Okay. And the second question is, from what balance do you consider clients as high net worth, and can they receive lower fees?
Okay, so
what
higher
what
balance
category? Yeah. From what category is a client considered as high net worth at Swissquote?
So for us, it's approximately double the average. So it's around 300K, something like this, in the retail side again. But there's a discretionary component too, because you can have a client with 150K under custody, combined assets between crypto and securities, but then potentially he's a multi-millionaire holder in other platforms. So you will be more lenient, towards pricing for these typologies of clients. But we're not like a private bank in which we have minimum amounts to have under custody, etc. We target this mass affluent. Mass affluent, you can consider them above 100K in liquid holdings. That's our main target. We are above this. We are at 140, I think, on average in the last results numbers. So yeah, you can say maybe double this, 300K. It's already a client that we can.
Okay. And is there this sort of a similar segmentation for the institutional segment?
So institutional, because there is a relationship manager generally covering the relationship since the beginning, which is not the case for retails, which you need to be above a certain threshold in order to have this, let's say, a slightly more dedicated relationship with our managers. Institutional is different. Is very dependent on the typology of business and typology of relationship you want to have with us. There's many typology of institutions for us, internally speaking, from Forex to banks to financial institutions with dedicated teams for every specific typology of institutional. It's not the case in retail. In retail, you are either retail, internally you can say retail, large account client, and then above a certain threshold, VIP or whatever other consideration you wanna mention. For institutional, it is way more dedicated and customizable. I think it can be a word.
Okay.
But yeah, it's way more. Since the onboarding, you already have someone, a single point of contact that will help you from the onboarding to everything, to the pre-negotiation of pricing and everything.
So there's more customized, let's say, custom pricing sometimes for institutionals, whereas for retail, you also bear in mind that there's cross-selling opportunities for retail clients.
Exactly. And also the way you connect to Swissquote for retailers is very harmonized, is through platforms, either mobile or web, and that's it. For institutionals, it can be directly through API to SQ Pro Fix API, which englobes all the asset classes that we cover plus crypto. But you can have dedicated APIs for Forex trading, or you already use a third-party solution. We call them ITPs, non-institutional trading platforms, like Lucera, Talos, Widen, and this kind of Integral, and these kinds of guys that will have another dedicated gateway. So really depends on how you connect to Swissquote, what typology, what business you want to handle with Swissquote. If you want exclusively one product line, you want a multi-asset product line, you want to do the treasury of your company, you want to do, an external asset manager, dedicated platform, or through their PMS solution. It's really an infinite amount of combinations on the Instit side. But that's also where we leverage our more technological approach,
Yeah.
Wow, Vasily and Carlos, thank you so much for this conversation. I think that we already passed a little bit our time, because when the conversation is good, we don't pay attention on the watch. It was really, really interesting. I think this is real life. That probably the best webinar I saw on this subject over the past months. And really thank you, Carlos, for bringing this success story for us, discussing about that. As we all know, this is a business that's starting in a lot of corporations worldwide. We all here in this call are true believers that it's going to be a huge business in the future, and Swissquote is already showing the path to success on this critical business line. And thank you very much for staying with us this time. And thank you, Vasily, for perfectly hosting the questions and the conversations. We are going to be available for any additional questions that you may have. This is my contact. That is also Timothy, my colleague, contact here in the presentation. You can email us anytime, and we are gonna, if we don't have the answer right away, we want to make sure that we circle back with Vasily and Carlos to properly answer you back. And that's it. With all that, I would like to thank you everyone that also joined us today. We hope to have new sessions soon. And let's go. Success for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Carlos. Have a nice day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone who dialed in.
Bye.